Morning, y'all. It is April 10th, 2025, and it is swarm season. So, I've already put a couple swarm boxes out, and I'm just going to go ahead. This is the swarm box that I use by my bees. If you caught my video, I think it was last year that I put out when I was doing the swarm traps. I talked about how I put a swarm trap, it's probably about 60, 70 yards from my hives. And what I have found is if I neglect my hives and I don't get into them enough during this time between now and, the end of June or so, what happens is I start seeing activity around this one that's closer to my hives. I know that I have a hive that's wanting to swarm. And so it's kind of a good indication. If I catch, a wild swarm, that's great. But it's really a good indication of what my hives are doing if I'm not in them enough. And I have this has definitely worked a couple times where I start seeing the scout bees checking it out, and then I get in my hive, and sure enough, I've got a hive or so that's wanting to swarm. So I'm just getting ready to do this. I use lemongrass oil is what I do. I'll go back over kind of what I'm doing here today. So I always put a frame of nasty old comb in there that smells really good, really attracts the bees. And so what I do, this holds 5 frames, and I got the frames here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. And so what I do is I take the lemongrass oil. Well, let me say this. Before I do that, let me go back over here a quick second and show you. This is my bee cabinet here. I got all my bee stuff in here. But what I do is I take this right here, and this is alcohol, like a regular rubbing alcohol, and and when I'm cleaning my frames off, I take that. I'm not going to be able to get that off. But anyway, it's kind of hard to see. I need to put some more alcohol in it. I take all my propolis and I put it in there, for you newer beekeepers. Let's see, these are all old junky frames, but the bees make a sticky substance called propolis. Some people call it propolis. But they get it from the trees. It's a tree resin, from what I understand. And they seal the hives up with them. And they put them on their frames too. So if you can see all this stuff right here, that's propolis. And so what I do is I keep my frames clean, as you can see, and I scrape all that off. And when I scrape that off, I put it in this bottle with alcohol. And so what that does is then I take my paintbrush, and I dip it in there, and I coat the inside of the swarm trap. I coat the walls and the bottom. And I do that because then that gives this swarm trap the smell of that propolis. And obviously the bees like that. That will attract them. And so that's the first thing that I do when I'm putting this together. So I've already done that. And now what I'm doing, I've already taken my lemongrass oil that's in this bottle, and I take 3 drops. I put 1 drop on the back side, 1 drop on either end. And then I take this. I've already done it. This was an afterthought as far as videoing this. So, but I put 3 drops. This is a makeup pad that I steal from my wife. Sorry, Michelle. Anyway, I take that and put 3 drops on, and then I put it in this bag. Let's just go ahead and do that. And then I put it in the bottom of the swarm trap. And that lemongrass oil kind of smells like the pheromone of the queen bee, so it attracts them. You can't use too much of it, because if you use too much of it, the bees don't like it, and they'll say, yeah, we're out. Can I do this? I think I can. There's a close-up. There's a close-up of my man hands. For those Seinfeld people out there. She's got man hands. Okay, anyway, so that goes in there. And then what I do is I put this right on the bottom of the swarm trap. And that allows the release of the lemongrass oil. Then what I do is, and you know, the way that I do it doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but it's been pretty successful. I take a blank frame and I put it in the front. This is the front. That's where they fly in. By the way, this swarm trap, believe it or not, Cornell University years ago did research on what size the bees like the best. And I can't remember exactly what size this is, but this, if you go to their site, I believe they still have it on there, they'll give you the actual dimensions of this swarm trap. And that's where I got this from. All right, so anyway, I put that blank one in, then I put this nice, nasty, smelly one. By the way, you can see I've got rubber bands around it. This is another little trick for you new beekeepers. When you have comb, if you look, see how that comb has come off the top? You know, sometimes they'll do that. They'll break up, especially if you're freezing your frames during the wintertime and you pull them out. You got to be real careful because this comb, this wax gets hard and it wants to break, wants to crack. But you can take rubber bands and you can just secure it back in there, and the bees eventually will attach all that back together. This frame also, let me spin it, because another thing about old wax, and this frame, yeah, so you can see that kind of nasty stuff there? That's wax moth. The wax moths have been into this. You know, some people, this actually has some pollen still in there. That's bee bread. It's where they mix the pollen and the nectar together. But anyway, some people will pitch this stuff, and I guess you can do it if you want, but the bees will clean all this stuff up if you want to continue to use it. I mean, they'll pull all that stuff out, and they'll clean all this wax back up. So you don't necessarily have to pitch this. But this is old stuff, so this is the stuff I like to use in my swarm traps. All right, so we have a blank, the first one. Then we have this full frame. And then I kind of just continue that. Then I put another blank. Notice this one doesn't have anything as far as string or wire to keep the comb on. Personally, I suggest that you do that. You put your wire or I use fishing line when I have frames. Now this is an old frame, and you can see, let's see, can you see? Yeah, you can see the wire. See how the wire's in it? And it goes all the way across, because that gives the comb something to adhere to. And you'll see once you're moving this stuff around enough, you know, the comb sometimes, especially in the heat, it gets hot and that wax gets real pliable, and it'll literally just kind of fall off. Now you can see this is different. This has foundation. That black is what's called foundation. And the bees, this one's been in a hive, and the bees will start building off of the foundation. These are nice, and I like to use black because once the bees start building, you can see the eggs better against the black cells. Then they make another one that's like a light tan color. All right, so we put that in there, and basically that's it. You put the lid on. Put the lid on, and then what I do, now this one I usually put 4 out, but you can see this is what the squirrels did one year. They just kind of ate away at it. But now this is ready to go up in the tree. And so I'll go out by my hives and I'll hang it. I'll put a screw. It's actually still in the tree. Put the screw there. And then I take a strap, excuse me, and bring a strap right through here and then around. And that's it. So about every 2 weeks, I'll come back and I'll put a couple dabs of the lemongrass oil. I'll put a couple dabs of the lemongrass oil on the bottom here of the entrance, and I'll take a twig and a little stick that I find on the ground, something like this, and I'll dip it into the lemongrass oil, and then I'll just shove this right inside there. Guys do it different ways, but I find that to be very easy. And I'll do that about every 2 weeks. That keeps that smell in there. Also, I didn't mention when I'm using this, that if I have any queens that I have to take out of the population, if she's a dying queen or a queen that's not producing well, what I do is I'll take that queen once I've disposed of it, and I'll put it in here so her pheromone is actually in the solution as well. So I think that really helps. All right, so until I put this up in the tree, that's about it. If you guys are interested in this specific box, you can leave something in the comments and I can give you the dimensions on it. I don't remember what they are offhand. But also when you're building them, you'll see that's a I believe those are 1 inch holes or 3/4 inch holes. Notice there's a nail in there that you pound in. That keeps the birds out because the birds will want to nest in this as well. So that keeps anything out of there. But all right, I think that's about all I can think of right now. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. Have a good day, and I'll be back. Bye-bye.